Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the Historical Commission meeting. It is Monday, August 24th, 2020. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Can I please get a roll call?
Ruben Amaral.
Rick Mancini.
Joyce Rodrigues.
Patty Rico.
And Kristen Cantara Olivera. So we are missing two. We're missing Connie Sewell, and we are missing Larry Dykes. Do we have any citizen input? Okay. So under general business, we have Anthony Cadero requesting a letter of support from Mass Historical Commission tax credits for the S. Gorson Sons block, which is at 162, 176 Pleasant Street. So I know we actually did have a meeting about, we had a meeting last week and we did discuss this. And so we had some concerns, and we did ask Mr. Cadero if he would give us some information that we were requesting because of the concerns that we had. So he did send us a packet, and I don't know do we want to start with questions for him, or do you want to have him present?
Yeah, maybe Mr. Cadero could just
Okay.
do that. Give us a brief synopsis
Presentation,
of,
I'd be glad to.
take us
Yep.
back.
Yeah.
bring
But
us
just
forward.
state your
I'll
name
give you
and
a
address for
history,
the
because
record.
I've talked to you a few times. My
Yeah.
name is Anthony Cadero, I'm the developer owner. This is David Andrade, he's a partner with Stock Architects, a local firm that's been here for 50 years. David handled all the intricacies of what the National Park Service requires from me as a developer and what the state requires from me, Mass Historical, in order for me to fulfill my ability to get an award letter to help defer some of the costs that incurred when you're rehabbing these buildings. First of all, I want to apologize. I told Chris, I did not know I needed to be here. I did not get a call. I didn't know anything. I would have been here yesterday. So I want to thank you guys very important. My date's August 31st. So I want to thank you guys for convening a meeting on my behalf, in essence. I don't know if you have other stuff on your agenda. So I'm going to let Dave talk to the specifics of what we needed to do, but the big picture is simply this. We have two historical buildings that we converted and brought market rate units and workforce housing units into the city. The property across from City Hall, which used to be the Giorgio Steakhouse building, was a lot easier to do, quite honestly, than this one here. And a lot of it, as I told Kristen, was what I was looking for, what I wanted to direct the National Park Service to do, and what I wanted to direct the Mass Historical to do. And David can supply you a picture of how much Lucabon panels were in that building. I wanted to create a New York-style looking hotel there. I learned real quickly that what I want is not what's going to happen, it's what they want. So I told Kristen, I follow the letter of the law, both for the federal and for the state. Your concerns with the front of that building have been mitigated from what I wanted and what they wanted. As I told Kristen, what they were concerned in order for a trade, they selected the colors, they selected the glass, but what they wanted me to do, if you look at the historical pictures that David will present to you, they wanted me to bring, I don't know if you guys remember, that corner used to indent in. They wanted me to bring the walls back to the original. That's what they really wanted. That was a big number, but that's what we agreed to do. So I want to let the board know that I've done everything that the National Park Services asked me to, and that Mass Historical has asked me to, so much so I shared with Kristen today, and I think my consultant, McCroskey, reached out to you, that we got our award letters. You don't get an award unless you do what you have to do. Trust me, this is my third time trying to get, that's David, it's my third time trying to get an award. But if you want to see it, I can show you that building, both buildings, yes, I got that Saturday, both buildings were approved by the Massachusetts Historical Commission, and that's quite an honor, because that money is sought after by a lot of developers like me. And so this letter that I'm requesting that you gave me in order for me to get that award basically signifies that you embrace what we're doing with the Mass Historical and the National Park Service, that I've done everything they asked me to do, because they're the Bible, in essence. And that letter just reaffirms that I've done everything they asked me to do. I didn't just decide on the colors, I didn't decide on the glass, I didn't decide on anything. They basically said, we can live with this, but you need to do this.
Mhm.
So in essence, that's what I share with you.
Yeah, well, I know also, Albert Pex?
Albert Rex.
Albert Rex, okay. He gave me a call too and explained, like, some of the concerns that we had as a commission with the transom windows that had originally been there and some of the columns, and he explained how, with storefronts, the National Park Service and Mass Historical Commission isn't quite as,
Thorough.
rigid
Right.
with some of those things, so.
But to that end, what we ended up doing, and I have a few pictures if I can approach. So you can see here from the image, this was the original design that we had come up with.
Yep.
And as Mr. Cadero alluded to, kind of the New York kind of feel to
Mhm.
it.
Very New York.
We approached it with the idea that whatever we were gonna do new to the building was going to stand out from the original building. And that's where that idea came from. Both Tony and I worked on it diligently and we fell in love with it. In doing research, and that was Albert Rex and his team, in doing research, they uncovered a bunch of photographs that as we were going through the submissions to the MHC, and I have those photographs here, you can see the original storefronts
Yeah.
and where and how they were pushed out to the edge of Pleasant Street.
Yeah.
And wrapped the
Thank you.
corner on Troy Street. There's another one here.
Oh, I had never seen this one.
So in response to that, that's where we went and then took that space that was kind of a canopy-like space and brought it and covered it in.
This one that you just sent looks like it could be what you guys have now, and if you put the sign.
That's what I have here.
Yeah.
And it's a small iteration, it's not a more recent photograph because this yellow band is no longer yellow, it's a
Yeah.
dark metal,
I love that.
dark bronze, because this was just the sheeting below.
Mhm.
But you can see how the storefront, which was originally about 10 feet tall, it was split up originally with about an 18-inch bottom layer,
Mhm.
and then about a 7-foot middle section, and another 18-inch layer of glass. We brought that back in what you see there today. And on top of it, where before you had the banding that would have the different store signs, that's where that bronze metal, dark bronze metal
Right.
eyebrow, where we've been calling it, is going in to replace what was back then. So it's new, where aesthetically, but as far as relationships and heights and everything else, it aligns similarly with what you see in those photographs.
When you see it side by side,
Yeah.
the relationship is, apparent, and it makes a lot more sense. Now that I've seen that the signage goes on there, and then the way it was done, and obviously the materials are different than they were then, so we can't like mimic exactly, and then everything's in black and white, and that makes it look old timey too. It's great.
Thank you.
But I mean, can you see where we had those concerns, because it was very different with the historical look to it and the columns and that, and then you have like all the panels and a lot of metal, and so some of the concerns were, hey, we need to talk about this because this doesn't look historic. And that, like, cause I had gone by and looked, and I did see that the metal pieces, like in between the windows and on the side, they do have a little design to them.
Oh, those are original. Those are the
original.
original cast columns that
Yeah.
you see there.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
they
Those are
really?
not new,
Yeah.
those are original. We built around them. And even if you go up close,
I didn't go close, I was
The
doing it
brick
from the
doesn't-
if you
top.
go up close, the brick doesn't even touch it. There is a reveal to kind of let them stand out.
Oh, and now I have to go look.
So if you
When
look
I
at
leave
the,
here, I'm going over there.
if you look at the National Park Service report that David wrote and what they wrote back,
Yeah.
that was required by them, that those columns remain, they are exposed, they initially were not. I mean, there's a lot of give and take.
See, I was thinking, for some reason, I was thinking, well, they didn't do that, And I thought it was just the one big column, I didn't realize that those other ones was.
No, we saved.
Previously, those were
Okay.
encased in
Yeah.
another metal that had been
Do
done
you
at some
remember the
point.
black metal that was there rusting?
Yes, I
They were
do.
all behind there, Kristen.
Wow.
Once we peeled that off, they
Yeah.
they popped out, and we did what we
But
could to
see,
preserve them.
how much, to me,
Mm.
how much nicer, I shouldn't say nicer, because the original one where you had it looking more, New York.
Glamorous.
I did
Yeah.
like that one too, but I
Was
do think
very
this one's more
nice,
distinctive.
But this one definitely looks more historic than what that one looked.
So if you
So-
take a look, and if you guys wanna take a drive-by, because you're probably gonna see a lot more, there's a lot more people are now starting to do this historical stuff,
Mhm.
because these credits are so important, right?
Right,
If you go to Commonwealth Landing, the first chance I had to understand how the National Park Service works was that you need to try to mimic best you can how that building was and try to replicate it.
yep.
However, if you add new structures, it's gonna be so different than the original that you say, how can that be? You got an old historic mill building, but yet if you drive down Brunel Street, if you were heading to the waterfront, Barrett's waterfront, you'll see we built a whole tower there out of the metal panel, and they approved that. So it's really, take a
Yeah.
look at it. It's really a give and take. You either gotta try to duplicate it, or you gotta show that whatever you're doing is so different, and everyone knows it's so different.
Yeah,
But again, the Bible, the rules are the National Park Service for me, or any developer, and Mass Historical. And then I need your embracing that in order for me to move to the round on August 31st.
Which is why that first design was so drastically different from what we have now.
right.
It was with the feedback from the National Park Service and from the Mass Historical Commission that we ended up where we are today.
Do you have questions?
Yeah, if anybody has questions, go right ahead.
Actually, I wasn't even looking at the facade so much as page 11 of your package. I couldn't help but look at that line that says, "The basement opens to an underground river."
That's the
Are
trolley
you
building.
close to the Quikasham?
That's the trolley building.
That's not this building, that's the actual trolley building on Third Street.
Yeah.
And yes, the relocated river used to run right underneath there,
Yeah.
and actually runs, that void space that they referenced runs underneath this building, and you can probably walk across the street and
You
get to
can.
that building.
Okay,
It goes under part of the
Okay.
post office.
You can see it,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so the Union Hall building that we bought, that we're getting ready to convert, and will
Yeah.
probably come before you for a letter of support, that is absolutely in that cavity that you just described, where if you go underground, it's like a whole tunnel kinda. It's pretty cool. I've never done
Batman's
it, but I
cave.
think it'd be pretty cool to take a walk in there.
Can you see the water?
No water,
No?
No.
So
it's
you
all
don't-
encased, but you can see where the bedrock was of the
Wow.
Quikasham River going almost into City Hall in between the two buildings.
That's
It's pretty cool.
amazing.
I am delighted that we all are, that you're doing historic preservation, sir,
Thank you.
because you're saving what is left of what we value in Fall River. So this is a wonderful project, and I hope you get more of them.
Well, we
Keep
wanted
going.
We wanted to, and, if I could be so bold, it's great to save all these buildings, and I love old buildings. I don't sell my buildings in general, I keep them, because I'm a product of the city. And I envision holding on to them for my girls and whoever it may be, and what they do is beyond the scope of this board, but I'm trying to bring you into my brain as to why I do with these things. I love these old buildings. You can't just make a 100-year-old building today. It takes 100 years for that building to be 100 years. So I enjoy
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But the big piece that you guys are helping me with is that by awarding or accepting my project and allowing me to get these tax credits is that we want to, or at least I've been trying for years, to try to see whether or not if you brought market rate people into the inner city, nothing with anybody else, but people with disposable income, the youngsters, the empty nesters that have means, could they spur a whole new economy in the inner city of Fall River so it's not so dark at night?
Right,
That's what I'm chasing.
and I think it absolutely could happen, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens.
Buildings are
it's just-
full,
I can't
by the
wait.
way, so it's working. It's just a matter
I
of,
think it's great though that you came before us, because I think we don't know what we don't know, we know what we know, and you know what you know, and by you sharing what you know, it kinda gives us like an insight into the process, the back and forth that you go
Mhm.
through, because obviously I don't think anybody thought that you like you started out, we're gonna like take, we're gonna change this whole thing,
Yeah.
but that we also know there is a push and pull, but not being you, not being an architect or a developer, I don't know what that process is like. So having these conversations helps us to understand, so that when we're like looking at these things, that we can maybe like put ourselves in your shoes. So I appreciate your time to have a conversation. Really.
Thank
And that's very true. And our main function is to look at the exterior of the buildings. The interior, you could pretty much do what you like in name with the National Park Service, but
there were still
notice that-
requirements, I'm sorry to cut you
Yeah.
off, there's still
There were still
requirements.
requirements.
Natural walls,
Yeah.
certain staircases,
Yeah, I was just
so, I
gonna-
mean, it's a process.
Yeah, I was gonna comment on
Okay,
that,
sorry.
exactly, but that's very true. Our concern from here is usually, generally, the outside of the building, that's what we're looking to do, try and maintain that historical nature in the neighborhood, you know? And reading through these, we got the advanced copy of this, and looking at some of the pains that you've taken, that's to be complimentary to you
Thank you.
for doing that, and to maintain the structure and the integrity of the structures with so much depth. It's really, really good. You didn't go in and just gut this building. You got in there and you tried to capture and save what you had. It appears well-written, well-documented, about the effort that you took to place things and what your future goals are with this. So you'll be complimented, and
Thank you.
it's good that we get, and that's one of the things too we need, is be able to talk to the developers and the architects, as Patty was saying, before, so it shouldn't be at the last minute like this, you know, so we're gonna try and be even a little more aggressive and start capturing a lot of this when you initially
Begin.
get the
Yeah.
building, yes. Ask for some drawings, ask for some insight, you know.
I'd welcome that. I've learned a lot, I'm not gonna kid you. Like I said, and not to be redundant, but I like the way the building looks. But if you ask Dave, I'm not happy the way the building is from what I wanted to create. Because I think that's a prime location to say, here we are forever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I don't control the rules.
Right.
The rules are controlled, and they kind of slap me down, so much so, David will tell you, that we used to get 7 pages of, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, and you still slowly start to toe the line and follow what they're telling you to
Yes.
do.
If you wanna get things done.
If you want to get
Yeah.
things done, yeah.
I mean,
And to
So,
Tony's credit,
to
I mean,
answer your question.
to Tony's
It's a
credit,
process.
it was all adjustments in the approach, right? I mean, at first, we approached it with what's new, let's make it new.
mhm.
And as we were going through, is where the feedback came in and kind of morphed that initial rendering that you see
Yeah.
to what you have today.
And
But to
I-
your point, sir, I mean, freight elevator doors being salvaged, I mean, there's all sorts of even locating the staircase itself, because we had to put a new egress stairwell, we attempted to locate it in the shaft location where that old freight elevator was, so we wouldn't have to cut into the rest of the building as much and alter the building component. So it was that, the hardwood floors, it was a litany of things.
Mm.
And a simple thing of replacing the brick on the exterior, not getting in there and just saw cutting,
Right.
right? But, so that's commendable.
That building needed a lot of love. I'm not sure I would do it again, not yet. But that building needed a lot of love.
Well, it fits with the rest of your area there, so
Yeah.
you needed it.
It needed.
So do we wanna make a motion to give?
Well, does
Oh.
Ruben have any
Sorry.
questions or comments?
A little, and I had concerns last week when it was brought up. I know the process well. I'm currently doing this on a building in Boston, and I saw the application, and once I finally read through the amendments, I understood what you were doing, and it makes sense to me now.
Right.
And I don't have any reservations now like I did last week, and I think it's an excellent job that you're doing on these buildings, and I'm glad this is in your portfolio.
Thank you.
And I think for me, I think it's great And the fact that we initially had concerns that brought us to this point, I think was actually more of a happy accident, because we learned so much
Mhm.
now, so much more in this process of how it works, where that back and forth, the give and take goes, and even just how we wanna proceed going forward,
Mhm.
like in the future with people coming to us, but it was a good
Like,
learning
it doesn't need to be
experience for us.
adversarial, I think, is what we, I think.
It shouldn't be adversarial.
Yeah, it's like
No.
a conversation, again, like, if you're not ready to have those hard conversations with people and learn things about them, then it's, we had our reservations, doesn't mean we were wrong, but like,
Right.
we need to learn something, so.
Right.
You
I
know,
agree with
those reports are done every time you submit a request for funding. I call it funding, but state tax credits.
Yeah.
I would have no problem personally sending you, and I think this is our sixth revision, fifth revision from when we started. It's definitely been a long time.
5, 6.
Wow.
I have
Yeah.
I have no reservation from David, along with McCroskey, who's the eminent, I think, one of the eminent firms,
Yes.
submitting to you guys what it is that you're gonna approve and say this project's worthy,
Mhm.
right? Early on, I've always been inclusive. The more you know about my
Mhm.
project, the
Yeah.
more we can ferret out, so we don't hit that wall at the end, right?
Right.
I have no problem going forward when we do the Garment Workers Union or any other building, where the first round or the first report that you see, we actually submit to somebody,
Mhm.
and you can disseminate it amongst the members so that you can live our lives
Right.
and how these projects unfold.
Sure.
Well, what we'll do, like, when you're ready to do that, we'll have you come before us
Okay?
and do like a little presentation of this is what, our new building, this is what our plans are, what we'd like to do, and
I'd love to
then
do that.
we'll
You'd
know
be
from
okay
the
with that?
beginning.
Do
We love seeing stuff like that anyway, I think, just, yeah, we do,
Good.
so.
So I found a tidbit, here we go, we can talk forever. The Garment Workers Building is like national, a preservation thing, because I had thought about ripping it down. Don't ask me, I mean, it was just a silly thought. I just
He's
wanted-
not there anymore.
Momentary.
He's not there anymore.
Momentary.
I only kidded, but I didn't realize how important that is for women's movement, going back to the 1930s, and
history of
the
it,
significance of that, as you see in today.
Mhm.
So I want to build that building. I want it to be called Downtown Garment Workers Building. David's already hired, he's
Be
doing
a women's
preliminaries.
center.
I think it's
Same.
going to be a great addition to that corner. And the beginning of what I tried to say before, I embrace other developers doing exactly what I'm doing.
Mhm.
The police station, I was approached by a city councilor, will you support, will you help? I will do whatever I can, because his 30 units are not gonna hurt my 30 units.
Mhm.
Right.
Because we're building a cluster, right? You want that vibrancy, the
You
whole
do.
mesh of
Rising tide
networking.
lifts all
Yeah,
ships.
Yep.
there you go. So anyways,
Good. Well, I will make a motion that we accept and get a letter of approval.
I second that motion.
Okay, have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries, I will have your letter for you tomorrow.
would you
I'll
get
send it to
would
Ryan.
you get it to Ryan?
Wicked
Yes, I will
tonight.
send it to Ryan tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll give you letters.
Don't forget your
I
letters.
appreciate your
Thank you.
time, and I really truly thank you guys for this quick meeting. I know, I know how difficult it was to pull you guys together to get you here, but I only asked because of deadline.
Yeah, no, and we're glad that you did, because like I said, this was a really good learning experience for us as well. And,
Well, it helps, I think it helps to see where we can be in the process, we don't just have to be an end, like a demolition, we're not a demolition team, we can
Yeah.
be here for other
To help
things,
build.
I think we're learning too.
Well, who is your history teacher at Durfee? Because you love history.
I do, so I had amazing history teachers.
Dorothy Sullivan?
I had Mrs. Grillo, she was in
Oh,
math,
yeah, Mrs.
history, like
Grillo.
I had her
I
like for
remember her.
a bunch of subjects. I had Mr. DeRoches,
Ernie?
the big guy, the tall guy.
Ernie,
Yeah.
I had him.
had
Hazel
him.
Donnelly, maybe?
I never had Mr. Donald, I never had him, but
That's my,
there was another history teacher. My favorite teacher is the English teacher, Mr. Machado.
Okay.
the
I didn't
shadow?
have him.
Machado.
Oh, I thought you said the shadow, I'm like, yes, I'm like, who is this teacher? Why did I not
The
have
love of
shadow?
history, the love of
That's
history
mysterious.
comes from
I
I
know,
think it's so important.
I went to Catholic school, everything
catching
was
the
mysterious.
interest of that student who's going to go forward with it, and that's what you've done.
Yeah.
Coming from an old history teacher, that's what I'm interested
Were you a
in.
history
Yes,
teacher,
ma'am,
David?
yes, indeed.
What do you
Well, this
mean?
makes sense.
I was at Durfee, then I was at Somerset High
What do you-
School.
We gotta wrap
Uh,
this up.
Graduated in '80.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
Which
before
one?
you.
Before.
Way before you, 62.
Okay.
This is the open discussion.
Oh, okay.
That's what this is.
Oh,
This is
I'm
the,
sorry.
since we just met you, this is the
Sure,
open,
that's
nice
all.
to meet you.
Okay,
Thank
good
you very
luck.
much.
Thank
Have
you
a good
so
evening.
much.
Thank you for your
Thank
time,
you.
appreciate
Good
I
it.
appreciate it.
Good
That
luck.
was the open
Thank you.
discussion, so we're
That
done
was
with
open
that.
discussion, okay.
Adjourned.
So new business, do we have anything? Nothing new,
This was a good
okay.
meeting.
Just to send me an email, the subcommittee, the Durfee Subcommittee Historic Panels is going to be meeting September 23rd. And I don't know how that fits into your new schedule with Conley.
I'm working,
Yeah, because you're doing hybrid
Yeah.
over there, I don't know what that.
but I'm not hybrid, I'm there.
You're
The
there.
kids are hybrid, I'm there the whole time.
today.
Do you have your phone?
Yeah,
You're
he
not
does, it's in his
hybrid.
pocket, I saw it.
So, yeah, I mean, if you wanna go,
I
that's-
will be there, I will
Okay.
be there. The latest,
You don't
as
have
you
to-
know, is that
It's a lot on your mind.
panels
The
for the
panels for the,
exhibitory,
yes.
and they'll be moving on to other topics.
Good,
Okay.
so then we look forward to that at the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll
You
be
give
there,
us a-
I'll be there,
a good-
doing my thing.
Good.
All right.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
I second that motion.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you,
Thank-
everyone.
Thank you, Carrie, for running
Oh,
up
my
and
pleasure.
getting this. That
Thank you,
was,
Carol.